There are Title VI forms on the back table. If you care to fill one out, you can turn those in at the auditor's office. If you'd all stand, I'd like to ask the sheriff to lead us in the pledge, followed by a prayer from Reverend Ray Sweet.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for how good you are. We thank you for this community that we are blessed to be a part of. We thank you for how you have taken care of this community and blessed it in so many ways. I thank you for those who serve in these public offices and those who are here today. We just pray that you will be glorified in everything that is said and done, and that there will just be great order in this community, that we may bring you honor in everything we do. We love you, Jesus. We pray that you'll bless this meeting. We pray in your precious name. Amen.
Thank you, Ray. Review the minutes. Any questions, comments, corrections?
I didn't. Second.
No, concur. Claims. Any questions on claims?
Not this week. I only had one, with the Smith litigation. Was that for the 850 South?
That's, yeah, the basement lawsuit filed.
What do we have to do to get that put on the tax roll?
Well, we gotta get judged. That's all the preliminary things that have been filed to get the lawsuit rolling. We should be nearing our default window on the primary players, file a motion for default judgment, get the judgment in order, and then we abate, assess the costs and the tax roll. So we're still a little bit away from that, but we're moving in that direction.
Forget it or know what the process was to make sure that went correct. That's all I have. I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Two payrolls. August 4th. Motion for that.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
And August 18th payroll, last Friday.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Todd Howe.
Good morning, gentlemen. For the county, right now we're continuing to pave on the community crossing grant. 700 west has been done, 500 north has been done, 420 west, 350 west. I believe today we are working on 300 north. From, I think that's from 400 east all the way to that 950 or 880 out there. So that seems to be going well. I would just ask the public, just be patient. We're getting new roads, just be patient. Bridge maintenance, we're continuing to work on that. Got some mason down on that 250 or 150. Doing some masonry work, should be there for a short period of time. We've still got a couple other bridges closed. For membrane, water membrane, put on those, waiting on those to get done. We're continuing to mow out there in the county. We've got one mower, trying to get around the county and get the vegetation mowed down. Just takes time. So I know a lot of people have called in. When we're in that area, we'll definitely get it. Just be patient. We're spraying vegetation. Bridge 236 over by junior high, they're making pretty good progress on it. I think they were born for the pylons to be set. And right now they've been working on the sidewalk from the junior high going to the high school. So from what I've seen, everything seems to be looking pretty good. Other than that, that's all I got to report for the highway. You guys got anything to say?
Do we want to bring up the dust pad issue this quarter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got Chad put together this document for dust pad. It would be a shared cost with the landowner and the county. The county would presume maintenance on it after it was put in. I know we've got one dust pad that we need to address that needs repaved. Put in a year ago. And there's actually two people that are somewhat interested in dust pad in that same location. So I'd like to be able to do that all in one project on there. Other than that, nobody else is coming in about dust pad.
So you'll figure the cost for the people before it's done, is that?
I'm sorry.
You will figure the cost for each individual's
Yeah.
property before it's done? Give an idea.
Depending on the length and the width, on the thickness of the asphalt. So it may change from year to year with cost going up and down. So, yeah, we can provide that to them.
What's the, trying to find, what's the shared cost?
Each one would be different. It would be the total
It's
length.
50/50.
Yeah.
50/50. I was trying to find it here, I didn't see where it was 50/50. Yeah. What's the typical length of a dust pad?
It just depends. Maybe 425 feet, maybe 500 feet, just depending on where they're at. I know these two that I'm looking at, 1,000 west, both of those, originally one was 550 feet and the other one's 425 feet. And talking to the two gentlemen that was interested in that, the 550 feet was a little bit more pricey, so he decided that 125 feet would work for him too. Lowest cost down, I think it was like $6,700. His cost to be split at 50/50.
It's about 13,000 or so to do a 400-foot dust pad.
That's it, 15 foot wide. On that particular road.
I don't have an issue with doing it. Motion to approve this agreement.
I'd make the motion.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. The last thing would be that pay app restraint.
There's pay app for GM Development. Pay app number 11 is $292,475.21. To be paid out. Redevelopment approval for that.
I'd make the motion.
Second.
And also Strand's invoice for this July July 1st through 31st of July, $7,980 to be paid by redevelopment also.
Make a motion to approve. That's second.
Kenny?
Good morning, gentlemen. Since our last meeting, I had 52 building inspections, 8 new building permits and plan reviews, 7 permit renewals. I've been going through the expired permits and making phone calls and final inspections to close out or get renewed permits. Why there were 7 permit renewals, with several more to come in and renew. I went to Lake Decatur last week and did a drive-through, stopped and talked with one of the property owners who was mowing the grass at the time. He said, if I have any questions to call him, because he knows people. He said, I gave him my card and got his phone number. He also said that he is working on cleaning up some of the mobile home trailers that are already down. He's trying to get them cleaned up. I'm not sure what he's doing with the stuff. He said he's doing it for free. Okay. And he's looking forward to us getting stuff cleaned up. And I talked to Bev Rivera, and she got a final bid on getting her houses. And the Washington Township house is torn down. And I think once that starts moving and people are seeing stuff happening, we can get some more people to talk to out there and stuff's going to start happening. That's all I've got for now.
Can you follow up on the burning stuff? I know there was some conversations last
Yeah,
week.
she came in to my office to talk to me about some stuff. I'm going to get on that. Get out there and talk to that guy. There's several of those people. I did have one guy come in. He agreed to board up windows and doors and put a padlock on so nobody could get into his house. He'd rather not tear it down because it's a very good structure. But he's storing stuff in there, and to keep any riffraff out, he's just seal it up.
Stay in mode and maintain.
Yes, just keep very good care. No trash.
Anything else with St. Omer?
Yeah, I gotta get in there.
It doesn't look like they've made a whole lot of headway about anything out there. I mean, I drive by it almost every day, and it doesn't look like they really have made much of a difference or anything.
Was that the tires?
Yeah.
That's the guy that's wanting to go.
Yeah.
He agreed to 1 week after I did stop and talk to him. I haven't sent him a letter yet, but I told him I would be sending him a letter. And I stopped, talked to him, and we walked through the whole property. And he said he either had a truck there and they were already loading tires up on it for the Talks Away days.
Yeah.
And he's got most of the trash is all cleaned up.
I guess a fence was supposed to be going up.
They were starting to put up a privacy fence.
It's still, I think, just laying on the ground at this point. So.
Yeah. There's still a few going in there.
I don't think I have anything else for you, Kenny.
Okay, thanks.
Tricia?
Okay, so I had sent you guys an email about a month ago. One of our members of the Marion Township Advisory Board had turned in her resignation because she's moving out of Marion Township. Once I received that, I notified the party chair, and that gave them 30 days to fill that position. As of today, they have not been able to do that. So then for IC code, it comes up to you guys to appoint someone for that position. That's what I'm here for.
Points.
Yes.
There's been no volunteers or anyone.
No one's come to me to say anything. I mean, not that I'm aware of.
I made a couple phone calls. People I knew they didn't have any interest in staying.
Is there a political party affiliation that they must be?
No, not for you guys to appoint. So like, this position was up last year. I do know there was one gentleman who, because if you don't run, you become a holdover and you just kind of stay in that position. So there was one gentleman who came off the board just because one person had ran, and so I don't know if he'd be interested in coming back on. That's Carl Steer. I have not spoke with him. I didn't feel that was probably my place to do so, but that's might be someone to reach out to.
Who are the other?
Bob Johannigman and Rosie Steer. And Elizabeth Fry is a township trustee. She might be a good contact to reach out to see if she has any recommendations.
Okay, I'll talk to Liz. See if I can get his name.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
And how long's that term?
So it just ran last year.
So it's four
Yes.
years? Be about three left on it.
Yes.
See what I can get done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I also sent you an email, but I laid the paperwork on your desk just to kind of refresh your memory. When we, a couple weeks ago, had all these sliding shelves removed from our office and back room, it apparently has been there for a long time, so it left some yellowish carpet underneath. And so there's 3 large spaces. And I gave you just like a sample of what it looks like. That's the old carpet. We're trying to match with what we have, and I gave you a quote. And I just wanted to see if that could be paid out of cum cap. I did notice that they included sales tax, and I'm sure we can get tax exempt on that, but otherwise that's the quote to put in what they can closely match.
Thoughts?
They come out of buildings and structures.
Yeah. Cum cap support that, or is that a place to draw from?
Yes, that would be the place to do that. The buildings and structures in the courthouse is more for mining, course, and contractors.
Mechanical stuff.
I definitely think we should get it taken care of.
Yeah, I'd like to see it get fixed, get to where it actually looks nice.
Yeah, it really opened up the room, and we've had so many comments on how nice it looks because of that being the old courtroom. It looks fantastic, honestly, that whole wall opens it up. They did, however, say that we need all of the heavy cabinets moved off of it for them to do it, and it would require a couple of you guys to move it back off there whenever they can come out.
Talking to Todd's gonna come see.
Yeah, it would be them.
I make a motion to pay for it out of cum cap.
I'd second.
All right. Yeah, just give us a couple days heads up, not a Friday.
Perfect, yeah, I'll get with Todd. Thank you.
Krista.
I was asked to come and speak about the Bryn alley closure in Milford. After the property, the questions that I had about the property ownership and the property lines, I don't have any problem with that alley being closed.
Guys have any comments?
I don't.
And you reviewed the corrected deeds?
Yeah, and they've been reported.
I looked at them and I thought everything was correct, but I don't look at those every day, so.
I have.
And I looked at them, I just wanted to confirm she did as well. And Chad, you didn't see any issues with them? back today. Is there anything else that you want to say?
I mean, I don't even know why I was here.
Okay.
Yeah. Told me I shouldn't be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. If there's anything you want to say at this point, now would be the time.
I didn't hear if the alley got closed or not, but he thought it went a different direction than it did. But it got over on my property.
Anything for you guys?
Actually, I'm sorry. The deeds that you got copies of show that the alley does not actually touch Mr. Park's property at all. So his issues, and it doesn't have anything to do with closure of the alley.
I didn't have any questions. This is the back alley between the two friend properties and the side alley, correct?
One on the east side. Yes, on the east side.
The west side would be the road.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we approve the closure of both of those alleys.
I will second.
And I would concur. Dan, is there anything we need to sign? Let's see.
There should be one. Okay. If it's not, we'll bring it. Okay, because it also needs an ordinance number. You didn't already give that.
For us, petitioners need to.
What do we need to put it?
They'll get us the paperwork and we'll sign it. Before we move on, since Krista was there, Krista, do you have an update on the water drainage ordinance?
Did you all get a copy of that?
Yes.
I don't remember seeing
Well,
it.
I sent it out.
Yeah, I got a copy of it. It's been a couple weeks, I think.
I sent it out to the APC board and all of you and tech review and ask for comments. And if you don't have it, I can get it to you.
Has there been anything from the tech review?
No. I haven't had any.
Okay, so what's the next step from here?
Take it to APC,
On
the
the 6th?
September meeting, yes.
Do you need anything from us at this point on that?
No,
If you're looking for Jamie,
just comments if you have any.
I just didn't know if there was anything else from tech review that had changed. All right, very good.
Chad,
Yes, just real simple. We passed the South Decatur Elementary School Zone ordinance last meeting, then discovered that our ordinance and the signs that went up didn't match. So this ordinance amends to match the signs that are in place.
25-mile-an-hour zone.
Yes, it is.
second.
I'll concur. Today's date is fine, I'm assuming. Yeah, do you remember the ordinance number we gave that?
It's in the first line there for you, Mark.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, bring up crowns.
Thank you. I try to keep you on your toes, Tony. Just want to make sure that you sign in the right spot.
Time, make sure you guys read it.
the top line.
Thanks. That's bottom.
Sheriff.
Good morning. As you recall, we had a previous discussion and you voted on approval to transition from QCC to Southern Healthcare for our medical provider to jail. Here's the contract. Councilor Smith has had a chance to review it. I don't want to speak for him, but that is the contract.
Yeah, I've looked at it, it's fine. There's no glaring issues in it.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Sign the contract.
Thank you.
You can't mess Let's do something good. Anything else, Sheriff?
No, sir, thank you.
Discussion on health insurance. As y'all know, we've been talking about eliminating health insurance for commissioners and council as their terms expire. Just wanted to keep that ball rolling. What your guys' thoughts were.
I know the last time you had mentioned that you were talking with, I think, Dan about the potential HSA option. I don't know what, if any, information you got.
There isn't an option.
Because it's not going to be tied to an insurance plan or?
That and anyone over 65 cannot have an HSA. So, yeah.
That's the age where you can start drawing in it.
So you can't open one to hide.
Interesting.
She said it's probably open for a discrimination suit if you did some and some only.
Sure.
So they said best would be if we wanted to do a stipend, it'd just be a co insurance premium stipend. Was their best suggestion.
Did they provide any information about what insurance on the marketplace funds, so that we had an idea of like that stipend, how large it would have to be if that's the direction that we were to go?
It would, and that again would depend on whether they had spouse and family. And then if we needed to be a flat amount so that wasn't discriminatory for. So it'd just be, you have to figure on the single, and I didn't get that deep.
I know I talked to a couple of folks over the weekend, and I think there were some comments that wanted to be made. So I just open up the floor to anybody that at this point would want to make any comments on what we should be doing here for the insurance, because this had a couple meetings ago evolved from just the commissioners and the council to also then Tony had brought up the coroner and the surveyor as well. So I don't know at this point if you're just restricting it to commissioners and council, or if you're going a little broader. But there were some folks that would also talk with us today. So
I'm bringing it from the insurance committee, and the insurance committee was only including commissioners and council. So,
and I'm willing, like I said in that meeting, that was my preference, was going to be to stay with the commissioner and the council at this point, because that's what came from the insurance committee.
So I called, I think, everyone on the insurance committee after we brought it up the original time. And the basis for the reasoning that came out of the insurance committee for proposing it was because of the part-time status of the commissioners and the council, which is why I extended it to any elected official who failed to maintain full-time hours. So I don't know whether we need to put this back to the committee for that discussion. I spoke to several people on it through the discussion, and their opinions have kind of changed and gone back and forth on what they think. Most of the elected officials I've talked to don't feel it is necessarily the right direction for us to go. I don't know that picking 10 out of 13 or 11 out of 13 people who are part-time and making that differentiation is the right path as far as a money savings thing off of just the part-time conversation. So I definitely think there's more discussion that needs to be had. I know there's some pay variations between all of that stuff, and total benefit package compensations could be discussed, which is part of some of the discussions that I was having with some people. Certainly a bigger conversation. And there's been discussions on the opportunity or the availability of people even wanting to run for the office. Commissioner's position requires a lot of hours during what would be a normal workday, and really makes a part-time position your primary duty or job, trying to fit it all in, put you in kind of a 2 part-time job position. And that's been discussed as to whether it's going to hurt our candidate pool or eliminate a certain class of people from being in that candidate pool to run for the position. So I think it's a pretty deep conversation to get into. I had another conversation about just insurance in general and the cost and how much it's hurting our departments with a $47,000 price tag on a family plan, and just trying to get those covered. So I don't know, while cutting commissioner and councils alleviates some to the general and alleviates some out of those budgets, it doesn't really alleviate the stress on the rest of the budgets either.
My only concern, I like the fiscal side of it, financial side of eliminating the insurance there because of the disparity between pay and potential benefits there, and the amount of time that is required, I think, varies week to week. I mean, we've had weeks where I worked more hours on commissioner stuff during the day than I did at my regular job. And so, I mean, there's other weeks that are like that. But my only concern are the candidates or potential pool of people, particularly if you're getting outside of this conversation directly, just commissioners and council. That if you're getting to the coroner or you're getting to the surveyor, one of the big attractions is having the ability to have insurance covered. So I don't know how much, Mark, you were thinking on the stipend end of things, because as you had mentioned last time, there is a savings there, even when providing a stipend. I think you were not wanting to, or we were not supposed to talk about direct numbers on how much that savings was because of HIPAA issues. But it was a substantial savings, even if it was a stipend. So what was the number that you were looking at there?
They suggested in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $12,000.
Do we know if we pay, if it is only an individual on insurance, it's not, elected and spouse or elected and family, is that going to be an overpayment for what the insurance would be?
I don't know. I don't buy insurance on the marketplace, so I don't know.
I think the single rate I was told county's paying is 37. And I know that when I was on marketplace for my wife and I, our total out of pocket for a year was about 17 or 18,000, which brings me back to the how can I get it for myself for that year, including my deductibles, what we're paying $50,000 a year for the same coverage or similar.
Since we are,
Go ahead.
since we are, I'll get to you.
Okay, no problem.
In just a second, though. Since this discussion has always revolved around waiting until the next election cycle to start having insurance drop off, we have another year to shop insurance. If that's something that you guys would want to look at, if we can find an alternative insurance provider. I know there was a discussion about potentially changing our health insurance for the county. If we were able to find a cheaper insurance provider for the county to save us money.
I think there's 13 part-time elected officials. I use air quotes because there's nothing that says what a part-time elected official is versus a full-time. Because there's nothing that regulates any hours. No elected official has to work, I think, by law more than 1 day a month. And that's where I got back into part-time being defined and tracked through hours for all elected officials. I think budgets is the next time around that we really have to think and look at that. But I think we have 160 plans or so through the county. And if we could save $5,000, it would be way more than what we would save by eliminating insurance. The coroner, surveyor, council, and commissioners, 13 of those positions that we're currently talking about. I think there's only 7 people who take that. So the savings would not be the numbers that we're talking about. The savings wouldn't be $500,000 or 600,000. It would only be 350,000 over the next 3 or 4 years, which again is a savings, but it's not 600,000. It's 350 currently.
Mark, what were you going to say?
I think we can't put the decision off through, if you're worried about candidates, then filings start in January. People need to know whether it's going to be there or not. I personally don't think people should run for an elected office in these positions just for insurance. Like I said before, this is not my day job. Fortunately, I have a very good boss and work for a very good company, and they provide my insurance and allow me the time to do this job. And that's how I feel. Nobody's going to change my mind.
Doug, what were you going to say?
I was just going to ask, is the stipend, and I don't understand that at all, is that going to be taxed?
They're looking into that. That was my question to them last week when they told me that. Because that's why we were
extra when that's at 33% from what little bit I remember. So that's even more of a hit. If you're going to pay out something extra, I know nothing about payroll, but I've seen that in the past. Whenever you give out, this would basically be a stipend or a bonus that's taxed at a much higher rate.
Yeah, I guess they're looking at options to.
Yeah. The other thing is, I guess we need to know what classifies part-time.
I personally don't feel that the coroner's part-time. I think you're on call 24/7, and I told you that in conversation.
No, I know.
And I want to state that publicly.
Last year, the coroner's office worked approximately 4,380 hours. The coroner itself. Now, that is on call time. Is that time where we're out picking up someone? No. But it's very similar to fire department and ambulance service. You have to be there. You have to be ready to go. I think you can ask any of the law enforcement guys, the police, the sheriff, state police, local fire departments are there as quickly as possibly can be. Almost. We have a quote unwritten law in the office. We need to be at the scene within 30 minutes minimum. And I can say for the last 22 and a half years, there hasn't been one moment that there wasn't a coroner in this county to respond to a call. And we were there. If you figure out, that's about $4.34 that the coroner's getting paid. So I wouldn't want to be in your shoes having to try and figure out all of the funding and the budget. That's a pain. I've done it before. But something I think you really ought to look at.
Anybody else want to say anything?
Andy, back to you.
I guess I don't have like exact numbers. I feel like I've been county surveyor for 15 years. You know, state statute says the county is supposed to give me an office, supposed to give me equipment to do section work perpetuation. My very first budget, council made me, I was the lowest paid elected licensed surveyor in the state of Indiana. And if I remember correctly, in 2008, my budget was $1,500. Right now, I still sit at fifth lowest paid licensed surveyor in the state, and my budget is $400. So I feel like I do a lot of things that are not in state statute under county surveyor's responsibility, as far as sitting on committees and going to all the reviews for comp plans, ordinances, things like that. None of that is spelled out. I've talked with numerous other county surveyors, most of which they all have staff. They all have offices. When the council did their insurance study last year, they said that, you know, out of the 17 counties, the average is 36,000. I'm at 18,000. And I provide all my own surveying equipment for section corners, my own software, my own staff. Even when somebody comes to the courthouse, offices in the courthouse send them over to my office, whether or not it be an out-of-county surveyor, an engineer, somebody needing an alcohol tobacco verification permit, just general information on land records. I help numerous attorneys with trying to fix deeds, because the deeds are so complicated, because people don't want to pay for a survey, they just want to fix the deeds. I think Chad can attest to that, to a mess we had with a deed about a year ago. I mean, it took 3 or 4 times of getting it right, because it was an estate, and there was brother and sister, and it was a mess. So I got brought into that quite a bit. I guess I feel like from the 17 counties, like I said, my salary is already half of what the study showed last year, 36,000. That's what Deanna Burkhart said at the council meeting, and they wanted me to take over the county's GIS draft. And then they said they would give me 36,000. I can't do that. I still have no budget. I have no staff. All the other county surveyors I have talked to, it's not the elected surveyor doing the GIS drafting, it's their deputies. You know, she went down and talked to Ripley County. Well, yeah, you know, that county surveyor, he makes 18, 20,000. He has 2 full-time staff members that make 32, 35,000. They're the ones that are doing all the GIS drafting. You know, that surveyor's not in their office. Franklin County surveyor, he got elected. I mean, they started him off at 42,000, and he's not in that office. He's got staff. I mean, I feel like I've done just an extreme amount of work with my own resources, because council has never given me anything to work with. So, I mean, I guess it's frustrating to hear. I guess I don't know much about the insurance committee. I've talked to Ripley and Shelby County auditors about how they do their insurance. I guess if you have time, I think it'd be well worth it for the insurance committee to shop around quotes. Shelby County auditor or the HR lady in their department said that, like, after it hits the self-funded amount, whatever that is, then when that secondary insurance kicks in, they say they shop that every single year. I've talked to them about what they, I think I understand like what Dunn & Associates charges per month per employee. And from talking to Shelby and Ripley County, that is extremely high. Extremely high. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's the insurance job to get other quotes. I don't know how often. I mean, I talked to Janet some. I think, did you say, was it Dunn & Associates was last, whatever their position is, to like what, third-party administrator?
Yes.
I mean, the county hasn't shopped that position since what, is it 2017 or 2018? Is that the last time you remember?
Yes.
We did shop it last year. Those gentlemen came in and looked at our quotes and told us they could beat done, and when it came down to it, they backed out and said, we can't compete.
You know what company it was, or I guess I would.
Fort Wayne, I think.
I guess I would start with more of I would contact some of the local surrounding counties, ask them who they use, because none of the ones, I know Ripley, I think, was company Apex. I forget what Shelby County was. None of them used Dunn & Associates that I've talked to.
The city uses Dunn, both school corporations use Dunn.
So, but I guess with insurance, I feel like, I've always been told, whether it's home insurance, auto, health, you gotta, they start in low and then you gotta shop that every 3 or 4 years because they just keep raising the rates up. And like I said, I don't know whose job it is to contact those people and, or try to get other quotes. I know Janet said, it's a lot of work. You got to put together a lot of numbers to get an accurate quote. But just, before you start classifying people as part-time and taking away benefits, I guess I would like to see the county go at least try to get some other numbers.
And we have an appointment for another quote.
For both, like the health insurance and the secondary insurance, or?
Well, it's all packaged.
It's all packaged. But.
So I know for me, self-employed, so self-insured before I came here. But with the amount of meetings, because I try to make every meeting that I'm asked to go to, it's oftentimes, a lot of weeks, 5 or 6 meetings. Most of those are during the day. They're not very rarely during the night. So I leave my full-time job and go to my quote-unquote part-time job and prioritize that. It's easier for me to do that because I'm self-employed, so I'm kind of my own boss. I have a good partner that doesn't complain about that, but it does take away from my business. So for a regular full-time person to be able to do that, they would have to have either an extremely understanding boss or extremely flexible schedule to work on their own, or they would have to basically take a position or a job that allows them to be flexible but doesn't often provide insurance. Whether that's being a farmer or being a real estate agent that allows you to do those things. In those positions, having insurance makes that something that you can do or something you can even move into and be more available. And I really think that eliminating the insurance is going to hurt Kansas. It's going to make things more difficult. And while that shouldn't be the only reason that you're here, it certainly makes it more attractive or available to where you can actually even do the position because you're able to provide insurance for your family.
I guess when I started in 2008, the insurance was never a factor in my mind. You know, I'm a licensed surveyor. This county had not had a licensed surveyor since I don't know when. I had a lot of ambition of helping make the records better. It was quite a wake-up call when I went to council and I was told no on everything and said, here, good luck with $1,500, which even in 2008, what are you going to do with that? I mean, and every year they usually take away about $100. And I can tell you, out of the little small budget that I have that's so unrealistic that it's almost embarrassing to even tell people that, you know, there's only been one time in 15 years where I've used any part of my budget, and that was to buy an external hard drive for section corners, and that cost about $100. So it's not even worth filling out the paperwork. I just do it myself because, you know, $400. I mean, what are you going to do with that these days? I mean, it's, and I, even though I have my own business, you know, I am the only licensed surveyor in the county. I thought it made a good, you know, fit. It was something I wanted to do, but it gets harder and harder every time you talk to council, and it's just like, you know, nope, you're on the bottom of the barrel. You just get left out every year. And I do try to make it a priority to, anytime the girls in the courthouse call with a problem, whether it's a deed, a survey, they can't understand, you know, a map, you know, an old town plat. I mean, usually I always get them an answer within a day. A lot of times I do drop what I'm doing. So, I mean, you know, feel free to go and talk to basically anybody on this whole first floor. I mean, obviously I don't deal much with the court systems upstairs, but, you know, if you want to see what I do or how I'm basically on call, I feel like, with all the girls in offices here on the first floor, which I do like doing. I enjoy doing it, but it's, I don't know, it's getting harder. So
I know it's, my perspective here is that it's very simple to make a broad statement and characterization about the restricting it here to the commissioners and the council that were part-time. I agree with Tony in the regard that, I mean, there are a lot of meetings, and I mean, perfect example, outside of the meetings, last Friday night, I think I probably spent 3.5 hours on the phone from like 4:30 until probably 9 o'clock talking to different people about different things. And that happens a number of nights every single week outside of the meetings. Happens on weekends. But my concern and my perspective, I guess, is a little different because, like Mark, I have insurance through my full-time job. So it's very easy to say, well, these jobs are part-time because we don't have set hours. We aren't in an office 35 or 40 hours every week. My bigger concern is not part-time nature. My bigger concern is what our effect here if we remove insurance is going to be down the line. I want to make sure. Yeah, I want to make sure that we are going to continue to have quality candidates in this position. And so my biggest concern, if we eliminate it, is that we do cost detriment long-term to the commissioners, to the council, whether the coroner or the surveyor, that we would have individuals that say, no, I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to take a job that maybe isn't going to give me insurance just so that I can do that. So that's my biggest concern at this point. So if we were to look at the stipend, I'd be more open, I think, at this point after talking with everybody that I've talked to on council and Doug, Andy, I would be more open, I think, at this point to be considering a stipend rather than elimination. So for me, it's either keep it or stipend, depending on what that stipend number is. That's my position at this point after talking with everybody.
I think my position is more keep it.
Can I ask a question? One of the questions I have is, so do all part-time employees of the county, do they get insurance?
No.
So what would be how would that be fair for those part-time employees? If part-time elected officials get, and I completely agree. I'm a chairperson, I get it. I have a hard time getting candidates, period. If you take away the insurance, I think it's going to drop. And, like in the coroner's position, we don't have a lot of people running for that already. And what are we gonna do if we don't have a warrant? It's kind of put us in a situation, but I come back to is, okay, well, if we're gonna do part-time, then it should be across the board for the county.
So my opinion on that is a quote unquote part-time employee who's not an elected official is taking that either in a capacity of they only have the ability to do the hours they've signed up for. So they punch a clock in, they punch a clock out, and they're done. Or they're doing it in a capacity where it's filling a void that their full-time job isn't. So when I've worked part-time jobs in the past, I worked my 40 hours a week and my primary job was my primary job. And any part-time hours or any part-time I had was extra. So it was not instead of or making my full-time job fit around my part-time job. It was, this is what I have available as to my employer. I can work Monday and Thursday from 5 to 8. If that works for you, then I'll be your part-time guy. Or hey, I can work 6 weeks during the summer because I'm out of college or summer hire stuff. So those part-time positions are what you would typically consider a true part-time. And that was kind of the spirit of the conversation I was trying to get to with this whole thing was, what are we defining as part-time? Doug said it else, what's part-time? Is it less than 35 hours a week? What's on call? Do we consider all call hours full-time? Do we consider phone calls being available to the public as documented office hours? Is it variable? If the clerk comes in and she has a really good office, she only has to come to work one day a week to make sure her office is going. She's fully able and capable of being able to do that. By law, that's fine. So does she lose her insurance because she's not doing 28 hours a week every week documented in the office? And that's really the spirit of the conversation for me. Whatever you call it part-time, what's the differentiation between the two? I didn't get into this for the insurance. I had insurance before I got here and I paid for it, and I'll happily do that again. My question becomes, what's part-time? My regular job is right now. We don't do all the meetings in the evenings. The mayor, nobody schedules their meetings around when I'm available. I have to be available for that. That makes this position very different when you start talking about part-time. In my opinion, so that would be for me the differentiation between summer help or after school help. 15-hour part-time stuff is that it's around their schedule versus the other. Yes.
I agree with a little bit of both, but like Jeremy mentioned too, that how are you going to get people to want to run certain things? I mean, a lot of times it is what's in it for me type thing, but yet a lot of people, if you ask them, if you didn't need insurance, would you work or would you really do something that you really want to do? And a lot of times people say, well, heck yeah, I will, but I would still have to do something because I would go nuts not doing anything. But you're going to look at where are you going to get in trouble with trying to find quality candidates to want to run. And then there again, like Mark stated, he's fortunate he has an employer that will allow him to leave his job. But how many people have a job where they're going to say, oh, just take off whenever you need to? And if you're not self-employed, you can go to meetings like this. But then again, though, you got to look at a lot of people that are self-employed, they don't have insurance. My husband doesn't have insurance. A lot of your farmers, a lot of people that I know that are farmers, their wives have to go out to work and they basically give their entire paycheck back to pay insurance. But I think you're going to run into whether you're going to find quality candidates if you don't allow them a little something. But then again, I do understand that it's costly, but then we eliminated a couple of the jobs. You hope that you could help offset some of that insurance part of it. Then I agree with Tony on where you define part-time, but yet, like, I agree with Andy and Doug down here, like, when they did it at the council, I hear people talk that it seems like it's always the same departments that keep getting hit, and yet don't ask and ask and ask for everything, but yet when others ask, it's like there's no ifs, ands, or buts, and it's an agreed upon, we'll just give you anything. And I cut $3,000 a part-time when I first got hired because I don't think it's needed. I mean, we're in there all the time, and I feel like we've done a great job too, but yet when you look at our budget, we hardly ever use anything out of it. But yet when you ask for one little thing, they feel like you don't deserve it or you need it or whatever. But I see a lot of, like, I agree and I kind of disagree with some of that. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way, but nobody wants to speak up and rock the boat a little bit. But, and I agree with the insurance part of it too. It's expensive. When I look at what each person's allowed on their insurance, it seems awfully high. And if I'm not mistaken, Janet, is it where done benefits, they'll pay 80/20 if you meet your out of pocket just within the state of Indiana, or when you go elsewhere? How is that percentage covered when you're out of state, like if you need it?
Okay, so you have a high deductible. We don't do the co-pays anymore. So is that what you're referring to, the
Right.
80/20?
I'm not hearing some people from the city have said that, and that may be not true.
Well, they don't have the exact same policy.
Right, but they still work out of done benefits.
Right, and it depends on what policy that they adopted.
Right,
What
okay.
contract they went with.
So if the county if someone were to get ill and was there on vacation, it would still be the same as if you were in Indiana?
As far as I know, yes, as long as you stay in network.
Right,
And that's the other part, that you have to get a.
Okay. It just seems awful high, with the self-insured and then whatever your secondary. I don't know. I believe that, you should probably try to keep getting quotes because things kept getting more and more costly.
But you gotta have somebody that knows that can help you compare apples to apples.
Right.
Get those quotes.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to lose the benefits. We have good benefits right now.
Yeah, what's your perspective? Before you sit in the auditor's office.
Unbiased. I think you should leave it alone.
Why?
Again, I said I'm unbiased. I think they should leave it alone because I know you're not supposed to run because you want insurance, but it is a plus because you do devote time to the county. Pay is getting better, but it hasn't always been. So I feel like that's a balance. Meet your everyday financial needs.
What do you see? I know it's a hypothetical, it's a projection, but what do you see the potential candidate pool happening? And how would that be affected if we do away with the insurance?
Do away with the insurance, if you can get people to come out on retirement. But the day-to-day, we're working longer, costs more. I don't see the county pool doing anything but drying out. So,
Yeah, and that's, yes.
We can't get anybody to run for a coroner now. And I'm not gonna lie to you, the insurance is not the reason that we do this job. We both have a passion for helping people. But if there was not the insurance, we would be forced to find other employment. Our jobs do not provide it. I had to leave what I call my regular job twice last week, and had to pay somebody to take my place while I was gone on a death call. That was twice last week. That doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, it'd be hard for me to find somebody who would hire me that's gonna just let me leave whenever I want and be gone 4 or 5 hours.
I think that's the bigger issue for me. I would like to save money, but I also want to make sure that we aren't doing harm. course, the future decision makers, policy makers for the county, people who provide services to the county in that elected position. That is a concern for me, and I know that it's all hypothetical on what we can do versus the, the tangible hard numbers that we can calculate. But I think we have to look at the effect of potentially doing away with the insurance.
Yes, I agree with her. I mean, I'm the only licensed surveyor in the county. I'd step down if there was someone else that was willing to put in the hours and help the county, help keep the records straight. But, when I ran in 2008, I ran against the current surveyor who wasn't licensed. From what I heard, there was a lot of people that said, he was never available because he was at his full-time job. You got to know something about some of this, the surveying law. Otherwise, I think if you find someone to replace probably either one of us, coroner or surveyor, you're going to end up subcontracting out a lot of that, because I don't know anyone else in this county that knows. And I kind of think, I guess it makes sense to me why, I always wondered why Jim Gorman never ran for county surveyor. I mean, I think this is why. I mean, he was a surveyor and an engineer. He didn't need all this stuff. I wanted to, I'd still like to see the county get better records and stuff, but with council not giving me anything to work with, and I'm already at half the pay of what the salary study said last year, even though I know we're doing another study, it's just not, I could definitely make more money just doing my private work than coming to all the meetings and helping everybody in the, the auditor, recorder, planning. So I'm not doing it really for the money or insurance, but I'd gladly step down if someone would, if you found another qualified candidate. There's no other surveyors in the county. And licensed surveyors are getting harder and harder to find in these small counties because they're all getting paid 2 and 3 times the amount if they go to Indianapolis or Cincinnati. And there's no licensed surveyors in Rush County. There's none in Fayette County. I had a surveyor try to get me to buy his surveying business in Wayne County. It's like, I can't keep up here. Why do I want to go to Wayne County? He's like, I'm 76 years old, and he just closed up shop. Couldn't find anything. So there's no surveyors in Wayne County. And most of the others, they have one surveyor. Ripley County's got one, Jennings got one. Ohio and Switzerland have 0 licensed surveyors. I mean, to keep someone that's licensed, you basically have to want to live here and take a pretty big pay cut compared to if I would just go to a larger firm in Indianapolis.
Mark, is there any more information as far as the stipend that we're waiting on, or do we have everything?
Just the form that stipend could be in, whether it's tax-free or not. We're waiting. We're doing some research on
that. For me, doing away with insurance completely is off the table. I would like to see that info as far as how we can provide a stipend to have that discussion. But for me, removal is off the table. Either keeping or doing the stipend is where I'm thinking towards at this point.
No, I would agree with that stance.
So I'd like to see what form we could potentially do that stipend, see how much we can still provide a benefit, and if it's not enough, or if it was like Doug was saying, if it is something that's going to be taxed then we're gonna have to be paying even more to try and provide a benefit to folks that do work hard, our elected officials that do work hard here in Decatur County. So that's where I'm at this point.
What's the thoughts on how we're gonna base this stipend? Off of what it would cost for insurance for a single person through a broker? Is that gonna be based off of a certain age range or health benefits? Because it varies when you're shopping based off of who you are, your age, your family size, medical history.
They're just gonna have to throw it.
We're gonna just have to pick a number.
Pick a number.
We are gonna have to
It can't be variable.
feel like you're not getting the discrimination issue.
I will get back with them and see what else they can find.
I'd move to table then the discussion about the commissioners and council insurance to next meeting.
What's that?
While we're still on insurance, and I don't know if you guys got a call from Matt Homey, Court Services, about their insurance issue.
I did.
Mark, did you?
Several.
Okay.
Ongoing for a couple of weeks.
So I don't know, he had talked about the shortfall, Matt here. I thought he was gonna make it today, but there's a shortfall in court services insurance that they are having fewer participants on community corrections. So they aren't getting the fees from community corrections participants to cover the insurance. And so Matt was inquiring about what other possible avenues commissioners would potentially have to help with covering that shortfall. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
That shortfall is gonna occur in 2024, not in 23.
Okay.
After speaking with a couple of people on the council, they believe it's in Matt's budget. He just needs to rearrange some things. And maybe he does need some help, but I think it needs to come down to that moment in time rather than us committing money in August of 23 for something that might happen in 2024.
Area concern I kind of got talking to him was he has, I think, 4 employees in his department who have spouses who are also county employees covered under the insurance. So he covers the entire bill for those employees and their spouses through his. So I didn't know if there was a way, or we should start looking at possibility of when spouses are also county employees, splitting that funding between each of those departments. We already do.
I'll double check.
Because I know he's got, I think, 4 that he carries, where their spouses and husbands and wives are both county employees and carry the insurance. So that was a conversation we had, whether splitting that between those other departments would help alleviate his issues. It's always dangerous putting annual bills in discretionary or accounts that are based off of quote unquote income or fees. Insurance would not help that, I think.
Yeah, so I think I think I may have misunderstood that it was more of an immediate shortfall than a 24 shortfall.
Yeah, I think it's next year.
He said it
already
may
in this
happen
year's
in
budget.
24, so they left his budget a month before.
Okay.
He does have a grant to do it.
Then at this point, leave it be.
Yeah, I mean, the budget's not even, they haven't even worked on the budget completely yet, so.
Okay.
That's kind of how it sounded to me too, that he has some funds set aside, he buys cars, he buys printers and stuff out of that same fund that insurance comes out of. And he's anticipating having to buy cars. That's different things. And then if he spent that money on insurance, that when that came, we would be coming to us for a vehicle, and would prefer not to get one of the sheriff's department's 6-year-old cars for that. So.
Okay. Next thing I have up is a highway department facility, the current highway department facility. Was the intent of the commissioners last year to dispose of that to help pay for the shortfall on the new, for the new facility. Now that we have 2 new commissioners, you just need to know your thoughts and that aired out if we're gonna sell it. That'll need to be advertised and take place here pretty short. We intend to be moving sometime in November. That's correct, isn't it?
I thought they were on slate. I thought it was gonna be done mid-October.
Well,
First November. Yeah.
My only thought is that, I mean, there's been discussion about EMA needing a building for storage, and animal shelter. When I go to the animal control meetings, and I hear about all of the space requirements and shortages that they have. Is it something that we can remodel buildings out there to be used for other county departments at this point that would be cheaper than building either a new animal shelter at some point here in the next couple of years down the road, and cheaper than building a building for EMA and their needs?
And I'd like to loop the coroner in that conversation too. I know there's plenty of complaints from the Washington Annex when we have to do our coroner services in there from the sub-mile and the distraction from that. I know they need to do and are going to do some updating to their offices, but getting them something a little more modern where we're capable of doing what we need to do would be nice. And it seems like that would be a remote enough area to be able to do that and get that out there. Don't know how to necessarily weigh those needs versus the shortfall and finding money for that, but I think reutilizing those properties if we can. Don't know, I think EMA came in front of development asking about their building again this last meeting. I don't know what their current number was, but his original number was over $1 million for that building that he sees a need for. He was going to have some space for the corner in that, and also some space for the Board of Health. The Community Corrections Department with Superior Court and Wellness needs more space in their area to do wellness course and rehabilitation services, so that we can try to not have to build another jail in 10 years. And the annex would have that space if we moved EMA and the coroner's office out of that building into another area. So that need over there is also something that's in my head. Of how do we allow for the expansion of our drug rehabilitation and services to slow this criminal rise that we've seen in the last 30 years in Decatur County. Investing in that is important.
I don't know if we make $1 million off of the highway department. I don't know if there were ever any appraisals that were done, Mark, before Tony and I joined you up here for what that would be worth. But I mean, with EMA talking about a building that's that cost, and I don't know what a new shelter would be, but I'm sure it's going to be expensive. I don't know if we make the amount off of the highway department that would even equal those numbers. And I know we have a shortfall to deal with the new highway department. But it seems like we'd be spending more money by selling it when we have to help other departments with their space requirements.
Early appraisals of the existing facility was between $750,000 and $1 million sale price. We have 4 interested parties. I did have auctioneer and appraisal guy there on Friday to look around. He was impressed with, it was more value, he thought, than what was early estimated.
He's gonna get us a new appraisal.
Not unless we pay for it. I just was searching an opinion. Opinions, I don't have to pay for. As far as EMA building, I saw that early drawing. I took a package price out there, and I don't know what happened with it, but it was a building very similar to what he was making up, a package price. Can't remember the guy's name that gave it to us, but it was turnkey operation for under 400,000. So, and I don't know what, Mindy, what's your thoughts on animal control building? I mean, it's not my opinion that we need to grow our animal shelter.
Well,
as far as
it's outdated. I mean, the troughs are terrible. They back up. I'm constantly having to call plumbers in to jet them out. Just the size of it alone. I mean, because, the county's growing. And, with bringing in a shelter vet down, which is saving us money, in that plan, when we came to talk to you about it, is what we wanted to do is eventually offer low cost basic veterinary care to the county or county members. Well, then that's going to in turn, generate revenue. I mean, our department could actually make money, which, down the road, couldn't it pay for that? I mean, the main building, I've kind of been out there looking around, it'd be perfect. And I'm not asking for a new building. I mean, I'm all about reusing. And then, my thoughts was put Brad's Beer out there, and then they said there's other departments that are needing more space. You could utilize all those buildings.
Sure. The garage shed barn behind the old Washington Annex, how much of that space is utilized by EMA now? So if that building was empty, would that cover the need that you have for another building?
So it's for a long way to happen, yeah.
And then also my thought with the existing shelter, if you guys didn't want to tear it down, why couldn't Jake have that as like, his building, his shop for maintenance? I mean, it is in a floodplain.
Jake's got plenty of room where he's at.
Okay.
We just need to organize.
Yeah, he just needs a little organization.
Mine looks unorganized, but it's just stuff.
One thing too, I do the grants for the shelter. I'm contracted through Best Friends Animal Society. One thing as well is if we kind of knew ahead of time, she and I went to a conference last week and we found some people who come in, they can give you estimates of what it would cost to redo an existing building or build a building. If we knew ahead of time, there were so many grants out there that we could do a capital campaign and we could go after those grants. And I think we would be successful with Best Friends behind us in getting assistance in either revamping it or helping purchase or whatever it might be. If we had time, I think we could be successful in that campaign. And, the biggest thing is Best Friends, they want to reduce euthanasia, and that's one of the biggest reasons is space.
I would definitely be interested in trying to have a conversation with Mindy, the coroner's office, the sheriff, and community corrections, and Brad at EMA, and see what their needs are and see how well or how much that would solve a lot of those other problems. I know that large building at County Highway, they store their stuff in. I think that's bigger or as big as what Brad was looking for. It's already filled. That wouldn't necessarily solve his office issue. The front offices are there. The back of that front office building has garages that can be turned into kennel space. Outdoor kennels could be put down over the hill those spaces were needed. And then, like I said, the coroner's office could have something. I know we do stuff out of the county for different things, and I don't know whether there's an option or a way that that stuff can start being done here, just add more space and save time, travel time to and from doing autopsies and stuff. You have space here to do it, and what the long-term payback for that would be. But I think getting around when I first got a lot of the different departments, I heard just a lot of needs for expansion to be able to get things. We seem to be at the edge of our needs ability for providing that and where we're going to be at. So trying to figure out whether we build something new in 5 years or keep something we have now to cover those needs is just another conversation that I think we need to have on a larger scale with lots of departments who have needs and see what's there. It's cheaper to remodel than it is to rebuild or build.
I agree with that. I'd like to see us keep and reuse so that we aren't incurring other larger future costs down the road. We can reuse what we have.
Okay. Let's figure out next step. Social media policy.
I sent to you an amended version of what had been sent around a month ago. Patty and I had talked, and I know Chad is going to be sending another email on the amended version.
After I looked through the amended version, my original comments stand. Everything else seems to be pretty well addressed. I just had two issues to consider.
So I just need to incorporate his thoughts on the original and the policy is close. Did you guys have any thoughts on the amended version or on Chad's?
Is this policy about the commissioner's social media page, or would this be a policy to all county employees for social media use?
This is just us.
The first paragraph.
It addresses some parts of personal social media only from the aspect that you were not, if you were posting on your private social media page, you aren't a representative of the county. That you were responsible for those, the county's not responsible for your personal. The rest of it is geared towards the county Facebook, the county social media.
You're going to try to blend these two?
Yes. The Chad one and the amendment that was sent around. Yes.
All right. Anything else? Brian?
Couple things. Had a good meeting with the IEDC. They came through. We took them around to various businesses actually to Nitro Glass, to Bush Park Stereo Farm, and Vallejo and Stonebridge Trucking. Did kind of a business retention expansion kind of meetings. All went well. That was all last week. Still working on buttoning up a few projects. I did send out something to all of you. You guys got it. Some ideas towards some projects that are coming down the line. Some options to kind of prepare for those. One thing I did send out was an invite, let you know that myself and the mayor are planning a trip to Japan in November. I wanted to extend the invite to a member of the county. So it can be on the county time, it's on my time, as well as the city time, respectively. We are going with a group, a South Central group. This is something we haven't, this is something many, Harlan County, Jackson County, James County, a lot of counties do on a regular basis, usually every other year. We have not been to Japan since I guess of the Herbert administration. It's something that in Japanese culture, face-to-face is very, very important. Of course, Japanese businesses employ a great deal of people in Decatur County. One of them is actually on one side. So, opportunity for us to not only travel with the experienced people as a region, but also during some expansion times, and also the affordable coming to the holidays and an opportunity time to say thank you and see how we can continue to cooperate. Some people say, why Japan? Indiana has per capita the highest investment of Japanese countries in the United States. So there's a strong relationship there. And ever since I took this position, I consistently ask when I'm going over, when I'm going over, when I'm going over. So we're making it happen, and wanted just to extend the invite to some other county.
What businesses, who would you be meeting with?
Meeting with our core businesses that we have here, Resinac, Nipro, Honda. Now, also there are suppliers in the region to those businesses that we'd also be engaged. And we kind of get a collective list of other businesses that have been set up through the other communities that are going. You're going to be having a reception, an open reception, working with the delegate from the IEDC, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, over there to help us set up with other businesses that are actually looking for additional investment and kind of showcasing South Central Indiana. But definitely our core businesses that have investments here in Decatur County.
How long is the travel?
Plan to leave on the 12th, we'll be back the 19th. And of course, flying that far, actually, it's 1 day over 2 years a day. Yeah.
And the cost?
Cost right now, and I just sent for an update to see if there's any updates. Last quoted was $7,500 for plane ticket, round trip, and 1 night hotel stay. We are in the process of setting up other hotels, but I would estimate probably $125.
Any other questions, Ron?
But it's about, figure 9,000 to 10,000 total.
I told my board probably 10 to 12, just because I don't know what food's like. I don't know what, train rides are going to be, not just section 1 area. We'll be going to Tokyo, Nagoya, and Osaka. Bullet trains, and I don't know who's lost. So.
Do we have any funds for that? Mark, Janet?
I couldn't support, I think the county supports Brian Economic Development Corp. in the tune of $60,000 a year, and I think Brian's our representative. And, I was asked if I wanted to go, and I with good conscience, I couldn't spend $12,000 of money to go to Japan. I think that's Brian's job. That's my 2 cents.
Is there a benefit that you see for sending a county elected official to go?
There's always a benefit for a contingent. That's up to you guys as far as budget and everything like that. Nipro is in the county, is expanding and such. All independent. But yeah, there's always advantages in numbers. Lisa said, like, to you guys.
My concern is not fostering those relationships. I mean, even GCOM drove by this morning and there was far fewer cars there today than what there was in years past. And I'm certainly not in the level of thing of how to foster those keys and keep these businesses here for our residents to work at and keep the heart. Most of our incomes come from factories, from Japanese-based factories, and trying to foster and keep those relationships strong is important. I don't know the best way for that. I think not necessarily having a county representative doesn't send a great signal.
And if we're gonna do something, having a county elected official who is there be a good thing. Instead of the mayor being the only other elected from our community. But I don't know how we pay to it.
I don't know, it was gonna trust that to me, so
Yeah.
in the future, I wanna go somewhere. You need a plan.
I don't know. I've thought about different places that we can spend, but I am not confident that it's the right thing to do. Brian, is there anything in your budget there?
My budget, really, as it is. This is something that we kind of saved up. I'm supposed to go in 2020, actually. So we moved, kind of collected up to that point. Not something that we're going to be doing. We can't afford every year. Can't afford every other year. Obviously, we haven't been there since early teens. It's not good to take life.
I think perspective-wise, as I sit here and look back at my notes, I think I'm gonna have to side with Mark on this one because in one meeting, we're talking about saving money by cutting people's insurance. And then we're also talking about sending somebody to Japan for $10,000 or $12,000. I think in the same meeting, I feel like that's counterintuitive. While I would like for us to send a representative, Brian, I just, in good conscience, can't in one meeting be talking about taking away insurance and then sending somebody to Japan in the same meeting. I can't do that in the same. As much as the benefit as I think it really would be for the community, I don't think that I can't spend the money to do that.
Anything else? I have two letters here I want to publicly announce both are from Greensburg Community Bread Alive, thanking us for a gift donation. First one is an amount of $100 in the memory of Maryland Factory on June 9th. And the other one's $100 in Maryland's memory on May 31st. So Janet's mother. I want to publicly announce that. They're thanking us for our contribution. Anything else?
Mark, did you ever have the financials from the fair?
We don't have any figured out yet.
Okay. Just wanted to see.
Just got the last ones, I think, I missed a set of claims.
All right.
But we'll have it by the next meeting.
Awesome. Excited for people to hear this.
Dawn, do you have anything?
I'd like to thank you for attending the Century Award Recognition Day with us. The Greensburg Decatur County Chamber was awarded the Century Award by Governor Eric Holcomb. Mark was able to attend with us and represent the county, so thank you, Mark, for attending with us and celebrating with us.
Good time. Anyone else? Dottie?
I know, sorry. In our office, we are backloading, because we're from like 1994 forward. So this morning, I was listening to you guys while I was working on backloading, getting that back farther. I appreciate and thank you for tabling the insurance, but I came over here to say, the girls in my office have talked recently, and I think before, we were always like, you know, an elected official that's a council or a commissioner probably shouldn't take the insurance or have the insurance because you're only guaranteed a job for 4 years. But then again, I don't know, after talking to Tony and realizing that your jobs are more than my part-time person who is a data entry or she's scanning documents. That's total, what your job is totally different. I think what has thrown us is years ago, one of the wives of the council people were saying, hey, vote for my husband, I need the insurance. That's not why you should run for this position. But I will say that as far as the coroners, they're on call 24. You guys are on call. I don't know how much time the council puts in, but I can tell you that I call Andy solely after hours. And if you want me to document every time I've had to call him after hours, I'll be glad to do it. But he puts in other words, to me, he's not an 8 to 4, or, you know, it's not that kind of position. So just so you know, I guess I just wanted to tell my opinion, and the ones from my girls in the office. And thanks for tabling this, kind of look into it a little more.
Thank you. Thanks for coming over and sharing your opinion.
Anyone else?
I got a quick update. We're going to be meeting with IDEM on Tuesday, reference the trailer park at Lake McCoy, to find out the current status of that and any direction they have as far as the park and the sewage treatment plants. Making some headway there and have some good contacts. So hopefully we'll have good information after that. Next Tuesday.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Doug?
I talked to Mark the other day. I did receive one quote on the tree trimming around the courthouse. I have not been able to get someone else to give me a price. Something we need to do, especially the trees on the south side of the courthouse, getting into the courthouse itself. September through December is the best time to be doing that because these are most of them are all hard maples. That's the time to do that. The price I got was around $12,000. That was to do all of those.
Who was that from, Doug?
That was from Cameron's.
Cameron, that's the one that's who
the county uses, and, you know, they provided insurance, 1099, whatever the other insurance paperwork. But just information. If you can find somebody else, I'd like, obviously we want to get more than one price, but kind of hard to find those guys.
I'll ask around, see if we can find another. Anything else? Entertain a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second. We are recessed. Thank you all for coming. It's gonna be a hot week.
Yeah.
Stay hydrated.